I have so many things that I'm passionate about, so many things that I'm interested in doing and accomplishing, and I think that's why I moved from just a clothing brand to a platform, right? Having grown up in the Bay Area, tech was a huge part of my upbringing in terms of seeing big tech, right? And not necessarily getting to be a part of it, if anything, getting the short end of the stick, given how gentrification affected the Bay Area. And as a young kid with a family of six, and I'm the oldest in my family, like having to move around a lot was our reality because of gentrification, because of price, getting priced out of places you've lived your whole life. So
All right, we're out. There he is right there. What's going on? Abdulaim A. Umar. What's popping?
yo, what's going on, guys? Thank you for having me on.
Hey, of course. You always had good vibes, man. That's why I appreciate when I first met you in Davis, right? Complete like a bright light, right?
Mm.
Just so much energy, so much positivity. You were like at every function, you were dancing. We had to teach you some moves a little bit, but you were dancing and stuff like just always good vibes. And it's good to see today, like you still have that vibe with you.
Yes, that has not changed.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And it was nice to see you guys in the intro. You guys saying you guys were each other's everything. That made my day. That made my day. That was cute.
You can keep that clip, brother. But for the folks that don't know you, can you please give a nice introduction? Who are you? Where you're from? And our starter question, our icebreaker that we like to give folks is, what advice would you have for couples, for married couples that are out there trying to make their first meal?
That's heavy.
Yeah.
To start off, my name's Abdulaim. I was born in Oakland, California. Grew up in Berkeley, California, my whole life. So Bay Area native. Um, Met you guys at UC Davis.
Yeah.
Really felt like you guys took me under y'all wing. You, Markel, Javon, everybody, Sam, and just like really helped me navigate that my first couple of years there. So
Mm.
uh, I really like hold that close to me. Like that meant a lot to me. So I don't know if I ever got to voice that. So I want to make sure I voice that, Devon, and appreciate that. And to answer the icebreaker question, I feel like that's a loaded question. For me, I'm big on planning. I'm big on formulating a plan and creating goals and um, you know just making sure everyone's on the same page. I think setting the right expectations. In terms of where you're going to get your funds from, what you're going to invest in, how you want to kind of set up your life. Having those conversations, I think, from a couple standpoint, is where I'd say probably the best place to start.
Yeah, I agree. You need to have that convo, need to have that unified plan,
Oh
right?
yeah.
And I
100%.
hey, appreciate the affirmation, brother. It was a pleasure.
Hey, man.
You're
It's
changing.
it's something that I was like, I don't know if they know. You know what I mean? Like, I want to make sure they know that, um, it's not easy making that transition, right? When you haven't seen anybody make that transition from the world you might different worlds you might come from, and then
Yeah.
to see other Black folks doing it, and for them to show you the ropes, and then you guys put me in position to be successful. I feel like from a job standpoint when I
Yeah.
first got to campus. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm really appreciative of that.
Hey, easy, man. I got you. We had you. And I feel like again for us, like, and I think I can speak for the whole mob, the whole team. It was really the vibe that you had that was just like, bro, yeah, come through. Like
Mhm.
whatever,
Nah,
whether we're hooping, whether we're chilling, like you just have good vibes. So why wouldn't we want you in that space?
Nah, and I felt that. I felt like super welcome. Like anytime come through. Like when we ran them barbershops, like like them Fresh Cut Fridays. Like
Yep,
it
right.
just felt like it was such a dope environment, right? Just
Yeah.
everybody just chilling. Like have to like I didn't realize till later. So many people thought I was in the frat. Like so many people thought I was a Sigma, and I was like, nah, they're just those are my dogs. Like they show me so much love, and yeah. So it's a great experience, great time for sure.
Can you talk about how you're able to stay positive, how you're able to have a positive vibe despite, maybe the environment that you were in, or despite maybe things, ups and downs that are happening in your life? I feel like, you've been positive, and I think that can be a, a tip or a message for other people out there who are dealing with real life COVID, dealing with health issues, dealing with maybe money things going up and down, not in the best environment, but they're trying to get that their mindset or their vibe on the right frequency. Can you talk about things that you do that help?
Yeah. For me, I feel like I just try to keep everything in perspective. Um, my my upbringing, my experience growing up, my background, my parents' background, just like being a first generation, the child of immigrants. Being one generation removed from war. So
Mhm.
it's just I think it's just maintaining perspective about the opportunities that we have, and I think the older I get, the more that I feel what really fuels me is opportunity. Just like being able to create my own opportunity and take advantage of opportunities, and be able to see them. You know what I mean, and be able to make something an opportunity that might not necessarily be one. Right.
Right.
For me, it just like I just always am thinking in the future. Um, and I know like, it might be to a fault where it's like, hey, you need to be more present or be more in the moment. But I'm very much so like that. But it's what keeps me. It's like, hey, like there's always an opportunity for a better tomorrow. There's always an opportunity for a better tomorrow, not just for myself, but for my family, my friends, my community. Um, the world that I come from, and I just feel like I have a great chance and a great opportunity to have a big hand in that and changing things for the better.
Yeah. Love that.
Well, speaking of being able to find opportunities, tell us about how you started in fashion. What brought you to fashion? How
Yeah.
did you find that opportunity and really take that and run with it?
Yeah. So my story, or in fashion, really started um, around 15, 16, and I just remember telling two of my friends it was our last day of school. And our sophomore year of high school, and we had this little pizza place we'd go to and play pool, and just telling them, like, hey, I don't think it's too hard. I don't know, I don't remember where I got the idea from. But I was like, I don't think it's too hard to, like, start a clothing brand. Um, and we talked about it for a little bit, but it didn't really go anywhere. And the next day, one of my friends kind of sent us a name. What do you guys think about this for a name for a brand? And we kind of went from there. And it wasn't necessarily like a passion for fashion. It wasn't necessarily. I think I more so had a passion for business and entrepreneurship. Um, and what I didn't recognize at that moment is in my last 2 years of high school, our brand gained a lot of traction, not only just in my neighborhood, but in my my community, my family, my external family, where people are like, oh yeah, he runs the clothing brand. So being synonymous, being kind of put in this place where you didn't really see yourself, but now it's just like you enjoyed the business, you enjoyed the creativity. um it wasn't until I actually got to Davis that I realized I had a true passion for it, that I had a true passion for creating, that I had a true passion for building business and, building opportunity. And it wasn't necessarily solely the fashion, but just the ability for the fashion to be able to create community. A lot of people kind of gravitated towards the messaging and just the brand in general, and being able to see the power of branding firsthand kind of happen, if that makes sense, without any clear intention outside of like, we want to make some money. We're 15, 16, 17, just trying to make some money. And you see, like, you're bringing people together. And then to me, when I got to Davis, it became more than the money. I want to really be able to build not only just a sustainable business, but um, I wanted to build community, and I really wanted to more so impact the culture as much as I can through this platform.
Love it.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I
Mhm.
love that it started in high school,
Right.
right? And your brand has evolved with your own personal evolution, your own personal development. So can you talk a little bit? I want to know what that like first product was. What was that first shirt, right? And then how did you evolve? And I know the brands shifted as well, so that might be my follow-up question. But for folks out there that are trying to, start their first brand, how did you first launch? Like what was that product? I don't know if you remember how much it sold for. I don't know if you remember any of that stuff, but yeah.
Oof, we're talking close to 10 years, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Right.
I remember what the first product was. I remember specifically what it was. It was a gray T-shirt, and back then the brand wasn't called Everything; it was called Two Toe Everything. and
Yeah.
tutto was Italian for everything.
Mm,
So it was the words tutto right across his shirt, but then it was like 3 blocks, right, of the kind of black power flag, right? It was red, green, and black. So we had like this, like we were like, okay, and it was printed um in East Oakland. Like, this guy had this like this printing press in his garage,
mm,
and he kind of did it for us. And going through that experience, getting shirts made and then selling them and watching people wear them. And just a couple years ago, like I remember walking, I was somewhere in downtown Berkeley and I saw somebody randomly wearing it. And I was with my brother, and I don't say like I see it. I'm like, that's so crazy. My brother is like, "Hey, where'd you get that shirt from?" And they're like, "Oh," and she was like, and then I recognized her. I think she was with her boyfriend, and I recognized him, and he's like, "Oh, it was a friend of mine in high school," and he was talking about my friend. So just to
Mm,
be able to see that that progression, see it like first shirt still being worn was
yeah.
pretty wild. But yeah, it started off with not anything specific in terms of messaging, just like it was just like tutto because we were like Italian. You
Yeah.
want to be a designer brand. You got to have some type of foreign. So like it's okay, tutto Italian. We just named it tutto everything, and just started doing different logo iteration, just putting seeing what worked, what didn't. Um, I'm like a in class, I'm like a drawer, like a doodler. So I'm like anything I doodle, oh, this might be cool, put this on a hat or
Yeah.
something like that. So it was a really cool process and like started, like I said, with two of my friends. And so working together with them and really just being able to learn and navigate this world that we weren't familiar with, I think was a great experience at the time. And then um, you mentioned how the brand changed and evolved. We continued it. And you guys know Andrew who went to Davis, right? So Andrew was, one of my friends who decided to continue on with me when we were in Davis, and then, we just, life had as we grew as individuals and our interests grew, our interests became different, and we figured out, different things. He wanted to do different things within the music and design space that he's doing amazing work in up to now. And for me, so I had this brand that you know is synonymous with myself. And I realized I didn't have like a clear kind of like platform or messaging. And to me, it
Mm,
was like the
yeah.
reason I wanted to continue it,
Yeah.
right, for myself was because it became a passion. It became much more than just the money. It became like a way for me to have a creative outlet that I could monetize and continue to grow. And over time, I came up with the question, "What's your everything?" And I remember putting it as an Instagram caption one day, and I have the post probably archived or something. But I remember having that as an Instagram, and that's the first time I ever wrote that sentence out. And I was like, "That's a pretty deep question," And like a lot of the people around me were reading it like, "Whoa, that's really deep," And it just made me look at society. It's like we're put in boxes, we're put in categories. In school, we choose majors. It kind of like silos you into a specific um, path in life. And I had so many varying interests that I didn't like this whole I have to be in one position, or have to be um, I can only do this because this is what you studied, or this is what you do. So you can't spend too much time doing this. You can't spend too much time. And I was like, look, my everything is so many different things. I have so many different passions. I love sports. I love, design and fashion now. Like as I've grown in this space, just like renewable energy and sustainable projects, things like that, like global
Yeah.
development, and stuff like that. Those are things that um, in school that I started picking up. Languages, like I love languages, and I was like, I'm gonna create a platform, for people to pursue their everything. And it became like my phrase for how I really wanted to live my life in terms of, what what I tell people is what's that thing regardless of time, money, and resources, you're gonna find the time, money, and resources to do. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm sure for a number of us, it's gonna be multiple things. We have multiple varying interests. I think as humans, we're very multifaceted. So that one question, that one phrase really, I think, encapsulated that whole idea. And my junior year in Davis, I decided to like really build out my business, create a 2-year plan, a 5-year plan.
Yeah.
Um, and really put that as the foundation, right? Um, and what I did was, lead with this question. We wanted to create a platform that was multifaceted, thought like kind of like very big scale in terms of expanding from just fashion into um, leveraging technology as well as storytelling.
Yeah.
Because what's good is a question without an answer, right? If I'm asking, I want to know what your everything is. Like this is a platform to to come share it. So what we did is really establish ourselves, wanting to build our brand, what our presence was going to be, um, and a lot of that came out in 2020. With we had like four different collections released in terms of the fashion and retail side. We released our augmented reality mobile app and magazine that's all embedded. Yeah, so that was super cool to do, and had our first documentary film come
So wait,
off that.
I wanna backtrack really quickly, right? Yeah, because this is
Going through
dope,
the
and I
list.
feel
Let's
like
2020 was a big year. 2020 was a big year for us.
but you said you created this plan, you created this vision in junior year. What year was that?
Junior year of UC Davis was 2017.
2017. So I don't wanna bypass that. He planted the seeds. He had the vision for what he wanted to accomplish in 2017, wrote it down, had the team, and then in 2020, 3 years later, he's now producing these amazing things. And I think sometimes people, they want to skip right to the augmented reality. They want to skip right
Yeah.
to AR stuff within like 6 months. And it's like, no, 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 no. Like slow down, create the vision, and then follow through with that vision. So keep going. I just wanted to make sure we highlighted
Nah, I,
that
I
gap.
like that actually. And I want to, let's, I think we should go back to that. 2017, 2018, there was, just like I said, we're multifaceted. I had a lot of goals that I wanted to accomplish while I was still in Davis. And then I also knew like what my plan was, what my exit plan was going to be when I was leaving Davis. Like how, in creating this roadmap for my business, I was like, look, I'm not in a position where I can do this full time. Like I have to work, I have to be making money for the lifestyle I'm trying to live. And I started, applying for internships within the tech space. So like I still work in tech to this day, work on the business development side. And what my plan was, so I created two plans really. I said I'm going to graduate, and I have to have a job lined up for myself, which means the summer before I graduate, I need to have an internship secured, for the experience. And so what I did was create two plans, right? This exit strategy from UC Davis and this business plan of how I was going to build my business for the long term. I decided that everything is what I wanted to do long term because it was a platform that I could do so many different things on. And so if I really believe that if I built it correctly, um, and I got it to a point where it was self sustaining, I'll be able to continue to scale it and just keep doing everything that I'm passionate about. Um, and all thanks to God, like it went exactly how I pictured it, if that makes sense. And to this day, I look back, I'm like, how did that, and it's just like putting in the time and just having complete faith that like, in God's plan at the end of the day. It's, you know, um, in Islam, we believe that you can plan, I can plan, but God is the best of planners. So
Mhm.
it's regardless of just make sure you put your best foot forward, make sure you put in the work, and live with whatever results. And going back to the question you asked me at the beginning in terms of positivity, like that's just remembering that like, hey, at the end of the day, I'm not in control. At the end of the day, God's in control. So um, yeah, so 2017, 2018 built out this plan, and at the time, like growing up gr- growing up in the culture, growing up with with sports, growing up with music, you just see like the lifestyles, you see like all the things that were exposed to, and that's what I adopted. I was like, but then the things that I really gravitated towards were the people who were building, who I felt like were building more than just within their space, right? Within not just a rapper, not just a ball player, not just an athlete. So people like Nip, and Nip being Eritrean, obviously, like that was a big factor for myself as well. But Nip was a huge inspiration of mine growing up. And I made, yeah, beautiful,
Oh,
beautiful. That's a huge inspiration of mine coming up, and um, having like a similar shared background in terms of our parents being immigrants of Eritrea, and fleeing war, and growing up in um, maybe not the best neighborhoods, and just find a way to find your path and make a way for yourself.
Yeah.
And the spirit of entrepreneurship was something I knew I had in me from a long time, cutting hair and stuff like that. And um, I just saw how big he thought and like how big his vision was, and I was like, Jay Z's very similar, right? Steve Stout very similar. Like these are folks who I really like look at and try to understand how they make their decisions. And a lot of it I realize is rooted in culture.
Mm,
And it's not about necessarily the money. It's about if you can impact culture at a high level and make people's lives better, um, the money's part will take care of itself.
right.
And so that's what I wanted to do in terms of scaling everything as a platform and everything as a brand.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting kind of tying back in the last thing you said and one of the first things you said. One of the first things you said was when you were starting the brand, right? Tuto everything,
Mhm.
and you started it based on the Italian culture because based on the world, based on the globe, that's where luxury is,
Mhm.
right?
Designer
That's
stuff.
where designer stuff
Mhm.
is. So as a platform, as a start, that's where you started. But as you developed, as you learned more, about yourself, as you learn more about business, it's interesting to how the brand has left the Italian culture, right? No shade to Italy, but it's left the Italian culture and it's been more centered on your culture, your identity, and your community, which I find fascinating how the more you go, yeah, the less you lean on a different culture and you lean on your own culture. So
I
can
think
you go ahead?
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
was gonna say I think that's where the power is. I think, like, as a kid, you're young, you're just like, okay, you see the big brands, you want to be like them, and it's like the older I got, the more I'm just like, at the end of the day, and this is I say this like humbly, everybody wants to be us. Everybody wants our culture. Everybody wants whether it's black culture, African culture. I just think like this is the culture that drives the world. Um, and seeing that and just like really like just further valuing myself. I'm just
Yeah.
like I know what I'm capable of. I don't need you don't need these external factors. I really believe in my capabilities in myself, my background, my identity, the community I come from, the world I come from. And I feel like we have so much to offer the world. And I feel like I want to be a big part in that, a big part in, changing narratives. I want to be a big part in changing people's perspectives. And look, my upbringing, my entire life story has been about that exact thing. Just changing people's perspectives of whether it's black people, whether it's Africans, whether it's Muslims. Like the intersection of my personal identity has been, a constant. Like on paper, I have an Arabic name, but in person, I look African American. Um, and so like constantly, it's like a different world, and it's like understand that like, it's allowed me to move with um, deal with ignorance, and I don't think ignorance is necessarily a bad thing. Ignorance just means you don't know. And it's
Yeah.
okay to not know. And it's allowed me to be in a position to be able to share, share my background, share the world I come from. And I feel like I've had so much success and so much come from that. It's like I want to be able to continue doing that at scale. And I think through everything, through a message that resonates with everyone, right, regardless of your background, it's a super strong community builder and foundation for a platform.
Yeah. Love.
My name is Sinclair, and I'm a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner who has created a program that takes a deep dive into your hormone levels and your overall metabolic health to create a highly personalized weight loss protocol that will have you lose up to 30 pounds, gain energy, and have you feeling so good that you go into the back of the closet and pull out that freakum dress. We all have one. So, if you are ready to invest in the last weight loss program you will ever need, go to queen2queencoaching.com and book a discovery call to figure out which queen to queen package is right for you. Talk to you soon. I love
Love
that.
it.
Love that. So, I'm going to turn your own question around on you and ask
Uh,
you, what is your everything?
mm,
I have so many things that I'm passionate about, so many things that I'm interested in doing and accomplishing, and I think that's why I moved from just a clothing brand to a platform, right? Having grown up in the Bay Area, tech was a huge part of my upbringing in terms of seeing big tech, right? And not necessarily getting to be a part of it, if anything, getting the short end of the stick given how gentrification affected the Bay Area, and a young kid with a family of six, and I'm the oldest in my family, like having to move around a lot was our reality because of gentrification, because of prices, getting priced out of places you've lived your whole life. So um, and what I did was like, everybody internalizes things differently. And for me, it was just like, okay, how do I get to that? Like, what are they doing? Okay, Apple. Apple is the biggest company in the world. Oh, they're right in our backyard. I've never heard of Cupertino before, right? Like these, like when you grow up in certain areas, you just like that's all you know. So like the whole peninsula, Silicon Valley, it just sounded like a place I wasn't too familiar with. I wasn't until I got to maybe high school, 15, 16, 17. And you just want to start understanding that world. And folks like when I got into college, folks like Idris Sandu, right? And that's because of NIP
Yeah.
exposed like what tech looked like at that level, what it could be. For me, I was just like, I want to get into tech and make tech money, and I'm going to do the business side because I don't need to know all the coding or all the stuff.
Mhm.
But then the longer I've been in it, the more I've learned and understand and have been able to incorporate into my platform because I understand. I think every business is going to need a tech component, right? Um, Steve Stout has a great talk on YouTube that I just sent to everyone, talking about the three things business needs, culture, storytelling, and technology. Um, and I just feel that like I leverage that at the foundation of when I wanted to create, everything as a platform and make it as universally digestible, if that makes sense. But at the same time, we're going to tell our story, we're going to tell our narrative, we're going to tell the stories that we want to tell.
Yeah. Fire. There you
Nice.
go. Right?
Yeah,
It's I'm trying to hold myself back. What, Queen?
I'm sure you are.
I've tried all my different things we can talk about, Abdulalim. Like, there's so many things. What you supposed to say, Queen?
I feel like even this conversation reminds me of the conversation we had at lunch
Yeah, very much
with the
so.
selfie, about just like listening to all the things that man does. It was
Yeah.
very impressive to.
Listen, this dude, 44 years old, real dope, down to earth dude, has really good energy too. Like you, like me, real youthful energy, right? He's into real estate, he's into health, he owns restaurants, movies,
Buildings.
buildings, TV shows, yoga instructing and health. Like, he's in all these different fields at only 44 years of age. Like, that's not that old. He still look very young. But he's in all these different lanes. And I think growing up, we're taught to do one thing, like go to corporate America, be there for 30 years, or play sports and only do sports, do that for 10 years, do like whatever it
Stay in your
is,
lane.
stay in your lane. But to your point, and to the Sinclair's point, like, you can do everything that you have a legitimate, authentic passion for,
Mhm.
right? Don't just do everything to do everything. But if you have the talent to draw and do music and fashion and code, do it.
Right.
like I
Lifetime is a
like
long time.
like I said, I really believe that if what's that thing, regardless of time, money, resources, you find the time, money, and resource to do, you're gonna be able to do it. You know,
Yeah.
and I think like after my first internship in like Taste of Corporate America, like I already knew that like I wanted to leverage corporate America for the stuff that I wanted to do. Because at the end of the day, I wanted my time. Like I just value my time over everything else.
Mhm.
And just understanding business and business at scale and what it takes to grow a business. For my career, I made an emphasis to work at startups because I wanted to work with the decision makers closely. I wanted to know, how do they make decisions, how do they get money, how do you scale a business, those types of things. And I found a lot of success so far in my career. And I just feel like I'm just constantly learning, and I feel like I'm getting paid to learn. So
What have you learned? Come on
We're
now,
about to
give
start
me.
a whole nother
We,
podcast.
we, we really are. But from working at those startups, what are some things that you have learned, or things that you just like you've directly implemented into everything, where you're like, hey, I saw, these three startups do this. We're definitely gonna start doing this in our business.
yeah, so like working in business development, you just learn like, like how to grow sales and how to from a maybe a product standpoint. So things don't necessarily translate into retail, but it's just like I think the biggest thing is at the end of the day, everything is based on relationships and how you're how effective you are communicating, right? And like getting someone to want to learn more about what you're doing. I think that's probably been the biggest thing I've learned. Like at the end of the day, everything is down to a conversation. The biggest business deals, the biggest negotiations, they're all people talking to each other and like having been in rooms where you're sitting in conversations or hearing how people strategize conversations. It's not necessarily about uh, it's remembering the the humanness, right? Remembering the human interaction. I think, where everyone thinks business cutthroat, 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 we forget that the top business folks are meeting each other for steak dinners and
Golf.
mortgaging whatever they want to mortgage. So I think that's a huge thing. Another thing for me has just been like how important it is um, you know, to make things efficient, just make processes efficient, understand, there's tools out there to help jumpstart, and it's the I think the hardest part for people from my background and the communities that we come from, it's just the access to information. You don't know what you don't know, and there's a lot of things out there that some people can take advantage of, that just aren't broadcasted, that people just don't know about. And I think, you know being in the position I am, like, I love to, like, hey, if I know someone's interested, I'm gonna go connect you with this person. I'm gonna go connect you with this person. Hey, go research this topic. You're gonna need it for what you're trying to do. So it's just about, I think, sharing knowledge, sharing opportunity, and not forgetting how important the human relationship aspect of business is.
Love it.
Yep.
So if you're liking what you're hearing right now, make sure y'all go to everythingthebrand.com. Support this young man out here who's, trying to make sure that everybody is chasing after and inspired to get their everything. All right. Go to everythingthebrand.com. Follow that on everything dot the brand on Instagram to tap in, and maybe he'll give you a little extra sauce on there. I'm sure he's
Hey,
teaching you
man, I'm
stuff.
100%. I'm
Yeah.
active. I'm active.
So few more things on here. We're about to take the spotlight off of you for a second, right? You can get out the hot seat for a second. I know we've been hitting you. Bow, bow.
Hey,
Now,
I'm here.
yeah, we appreciate that. Now is your time to ask us any questions you have around business, health, or just our own personal journey. This is our Ask Declare segment. So we're gonna take you out the hot seat for a second, give you a break, and you can hit us with a question or two.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna start off. I got to. What's y'all everything? I know y'all started off with it was each other,
Yeah,
but
See,
given what's your everything is multifaceted, right? What's you guys' individual everything?
love it. Am I going first?
you already
Okay.
know the answer.
Okay, I got you. So one something that's been on my heart, on my mind for a while since I was a kid is movies. You can't see it, but like on this side, it's just all movies all the way down. I really love
Just
movies.
like this side, how there's books literally right here. Nothing. Oh, they're about to follow me. That's how many there are.
I love movies. I love stories. So it's always been in my life plan to create a film. So, and create many films, right? And I want to create films that, like you said earlier, impact the culture, impact your consciousness, and really broadcast and uplift positive Black images of different people. So that growing up, you can watch a cartoon of maybe a stockbroker. You can watch a cartoon of an entrepreneur. You can watch a cartoon of someone who owns a restaurant. And as a 5-year old, as a 7-year old, you now know that that's your potential, that's your reality. So movies, 100%. Right under that is books, right? Because really how I operate my movies now is I write them as a book first, and then I'll translate that book into a movie. So writing, storytelling, sharing information, um, Black history or knowledge of myself, which becomes Black history, right? But thanks, Quinn. Appreciate the
Mhm,
snaps.
mhm, mhm.
But yeah, knowledge of myself, my ancestors, my background, where my family grew up, how they grew up, like just really learning about the DNA that's in me
Yeah.
is a fun process, and I enjoy learning about myself. And I love the opportunity to teach young Black people, young African people about their history, and you see their eyes light up, right? Because they don't get this usually in school or even sometimes in their home. So yeah, giving myself self knowledge and then pouring that into other people is definitely in everything for me. And then the last thing that I would say is just I don't know how to frame this, Abdul Alim. I really don't know how to frame this, but it's helping or seeing people go from knowing what their potential is to actually getting to their potential or being willing to chase their potential, right? I love that process. I love being a part of that process. Um, and I've helped a few people go from like, oh, I think I can do this, but I'm not sure, giving them, yes, the queen included, but giving them, a little bit of tips, or like just sharing with them the vision or the potential that I see, and giving them that affirmation, and then seeing them chase it, seeing them hustle it, and seeing them surpass it is just like a dope thing to be a part of and see. So I don't know how to frame that as an everything, but that holistic process is,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah, yeah,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
appreciate that. Go
Those are
ahead, Queen.
those are beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um, so I've got 4 that I at least thought of while you were talking.
Mm,
Um, One, health and wellness. It's literally in my nickname, health nerd. I just feel like that is the foundation for life, truly. And then everything else is a luxury that comes after that.
mhm,
So health and wellness, and specifically health and wellness of the African diaspora is huge to me, just because we're left out of the conversation for so many, for the research, for the medical procedures. Like, they're not studying us, they're not figuring out what we need. So I'm big on making sure that we as a community are taking a proactive approach to health, because we have a little bit of catching up to do, realistically, right? Just because of our history. So I'd love to be part of that solution. um Dancing. Dancing is definitely an everything of mine. I sometimes don't even know that I'm doing it when I'm doing it. So that it's just something, since I was a kid, watching my baby videos, like, they'd play music and just watch me dance. So it's in my soul, it's in my bones. My family tried to get me in other sports. It didn't work. It was always dance. Um, Cooking. Cooking is something that I'm passionate about, and I also feel that it is I think it is just an important skill for everybody to have, to be able to nourish yourself, to be able to feed yourself, feed your mind, body, soul, spirit, everything. And then also do it in a way that feels good, that treats your body well. I think that's a huge passion of mine, is not only cooking for taste and in that kind of initial gratification, but cooking for longevity, cooking for, this is feeding my body right now, and feeding it in a good way and fueling it, but it's also fueling my spirit because it tastes so good and it reminds me of grandma's cooking. Like, that's what um
mm.
travel. And travel is the last one. I I'm like a completely different person when we're traveling. I
Who
like
isn't? Who isn't?
Yeah,
That's
it's
the
like
real question.
I go back to, like, being a little kid and just, like, discovery mode. I love learning about different cultures, seeing the world, just seeing, like, the world is beautiful. Just seeing, like, all these just natural beauty. I love it. I could go off on a whole tangent, but food, trying different foods, like, I just love it. Learning languages. I love to travel. I could not get enough of it.
Yeah, well done. Those are beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good question. We saw it coming, kinda, but yeah,
I did.
appreciate you.
But
Appreciate you. Oh, okay. You got anything else for us, or you want us to hop back into it? You let me know.
Let's hop back into it.
Let's hop back in. So I want to talk about.
here we go.
I love the different arms that you have within everything, right? So I'm gonna let you talk through the arms, but can you talk about, like, yeah, what are the different sectors that you have within everything, and like how do they come together in an ecosystem and really talk to one another?
Yeah. So like I said, back in 2017, 2018, I really wanted to focus on building a platform. Because I realized if I build a platform, I can build this kind of umbrella situation, you can have varying interests under it. And after that Steve Stop video specifically, and I'll make sure I send that over to you guys.
Yes.
I was like, we need to have a storytelling arm, right? Like we need to have a function that story tells. Obviously, the retail and fashion is already ongoing, and then for it took us a year and a half, 2 years, I want to say, to like a year and a half to really find a concept from a tech perspective, right? And at the time, I was still like formulating a team and just bringing people on, and my cousin was like, like lifelong family friends. He's older than me, so he's always been like an older brother to me. And one of the smartest people I know, and his background is like computer engineering, and so I'm just
That's
having conversations with him. Yep, I'm on, yeah.
mm,
So having conversations with him, and he had recently moved to Sacramento at the time, so he was coming to my apartment in Davis, and we are just spending time, just like, what do we think we should do from a tech perspective? And then augmented reality came up, and I asked him like, how feasible was it, to kind of build out, like how creative could we get? And the more that I got into that world at that time, I just feel like I got into it so perfectly given where we are at now today as a society in terms of the metaverse and all this stuff. So um, getting into AR and finding out how we could do it and make it unique to everything, as a platform, seeing inspiration from folks like Idris Sandu and how Nip created the virtual store and what they did with AR in that sense, and then being able to implement it. So in 2019, once we really started working and putting together this foundation, right? We called 2019 the foundation, or 2020 the foundation year, where we were like, we want to tell the world what everything is, right? Like through fashion, through storytelling, and through the technology, and just like allow for these three branches to be announced and exist, right, as functions of our um, platform. And so in 2020, um, we had these different fashion releases, and released this AR magazine towards the end of the year. But what we did was like, put together this short film, documentary film about everything called The Foundation, which is available now on YouTube. And I always tell people like, yo, just you want to understand what everything is, go watch that documentary. And it's funny because you were talking about, you want to make films, and that was my first time like being a part of, making a film, making a process. And it's something that I look back, I'm like, how did we do that? Like, and it was really four people, or three to four people, for the entirety of all those projects we did in 2020. And just taking the stuff that the entire world's going through with, COVID, um, and then finding a way to find like positive aspects of it. We're like, look, all we can do is work right now. Like, let's just put these projects out, these stories out, allow for the brand to really grab its foundation within people, um, and then scale from there. So, we've had some more retail lines, we've done some more personalized augmented reality projects, for other artists, capturing their stories, part of their album releases, promos, and stuff like that.
and when you
That's
do that, is it only available on the Everything platform, or you build it for them and then it's whatever their platform is?
So that one was a combination. The one we did was a combination of our platform and their platform. So what they wanted to do was take a physical pin, that had like part of their album, and with through our technology, you would scan, in your camera, you'd scan the pin, and then this whole entire experience would kind of pop up in augmented reality.
Mm,
And that's one iteration of the project. And now we've moved from just like, being only on our platform, to where, we're doing web-based AR. So anywhere you go, you want to experience, like, for example, we have an AR experience live on our website. You can do it at any time, and you can just go to everything the brand, and there's this rotating experience, and you click view in AR, and you just place it, and you can experience wherever you are in the world. So um, just continuously, as the technology expands, and like we're just continuously expanding, like what we're looking to do with it, how we're looking to make it our own, and how we can continue to grow in this space. And for me, it's just like I said, part of my everything is like trying to take opportunity, and for the betterment of myself, my family, my community, um, and the world I come from. And having been able to release an augmented reality based project in 2020, not knowing all this, like metaverse, Facebook, Meta, all this stuff was going to happen, and then to see where we are now and know that we were, like, for my world, my community, I was everyone's introduction to this space. It wasn't Facebook changing to Meta. It wasn't, um, CryptoPunk releasing these NFTs. Like, it was everything in that space. Like, so
mm,
for the people who were, more into the space, they're like, when are you going to drop something in NFT? And it's like, oh, we got stuff planned, but
yeah,
we want to be very strategic. We want to make sure we're on brand. Everything we do is like very, we spend a lot of time mapping it out. We spend a lot of time putting it together. making sure it coincides with, our entire platform of what's your everything.
Yeah, love it. I think so. Possibly tough question, or possibly very easy question because you seem like a planner, right? But I feel like with everything that you have going on, the more time that you're able to put into everything, the better it's going to scale, or the quicker it's going to scale. So, a kind of a roadmap question for you is, what needs to happen for you to be full time in everything, or in your roadmap? What year have you already projected? Boom, this is the year I'm about to be full time into everything.
It's funny because, like I said, I still work in tech, right? So I don't know who might see this. Like, I don't want anybody at my job to be
Like,
like,
oh,
"Oh, like, are you trying to?" Exactly.
yeah.
um, I have. It's funny. I came into this year with a specific goal actually, and with whatever I'm involved with, I want to make sure I'm giving it my all. I'm giving it my right due. So, in my current position right now, or my about to be current position, um, I want to be able to like continue to learn and continue to grow. So I'm giving myself another couple years, trying to work and make sure that, and it's also just on top. It's funny because on top of these things, like I'm developing other businesses on the side, so just trying to build passive income, right? So what I need to do is make sure that my income that I'm making from my job is supplemented before I'm doing this full time, right? I need to be making the money I need to make to be able to scale this and grow this. But I'm doing both and continuously working. So for example, this year we have our next collection, spring summer collection,
Popping.
mapped out for April. um, and it's funny, part of the reason I moved to LA is because we are getting deeper into the fashion world in terms of all cut and sew products, and not just like print or stuff like that. It's like, no, we're designing and getting into the nitty gritty in that, and like working with manufacturers here. Um, and we have like two collaboration projects that both have film projects associated with them. So we're really leveraging all aspects of our platform, from the film storytelling to the fashion to the technology and AR experiences, um, to not only propel our story, but also give a platform for other people to tell their stories as well. So 20 this year is going to be a fun year. The stuff we have mapped out, the stuff we should be going into 2023 at a very different level, if that makes sense.
Nice.
Yes,
You got
yes,
some very exciting things coming up.
facts.
So,
Yes,
along that
yes,
same way,
sir.
like, you already kinda thinking about the future, so let me ask you a kind of a futuristic question. You said you're a
Yeah.
kind of futuristic thinker, so it
Yep.
should be a slam dunk for you. But what are you most excited about when you think about the next 3 to 5 years for everything?
There's so much. There's so much. Something that we haven't announced yet, but we're going to be announcing probably next month. Um, Part of my everything, given my background being Eritrean, and the Horn of Africa as a whole, just being very um, it's a turbulent place, right? You have good times, you have bad times, you have situations where you just wish for better. So we're actually partnering with a um, organization called American Horn of Africa Relief Association, and what we're doing is donating percentage of our sales to development projects back home. So it's funny because UC Davis actually studied international relations and world trade development with an emphasis in um, global development in sub-Saharan Africa. So I intentionally was studying those things, knowing that, like, hey, my goal is going to be to do development work,
Mm,
back home, and like work specifically with refugees.
Yeah.
And so now, having been able to build to a point, things are moving a lot faster than I anticipated them, but God's time. And I just want to make sure that I can meet the moment. So build this relationship, and looking to from here on out, start these housing refugee projects um, for Eritrean refugees in Ethiopia and Sudan, that are due to war, due to famine, and those types of situations, right? So just that's something that I'm very, very, very excited for, and it's very close to my heart, if that makes sense.
yeah.
Um, and but then on top of that, just like the cultural impact. My biggest thing is I want to be able to impact culture at a very, very, very high level. I want to be able to continue to um, give folks context to the worlds that we come from. Give folks context to the religious backgrounds. Give folks context to um, you know the story of a refugee or the story of a diaspora kid, and finding similar minded folks in the storytelling space, whether it's films. You know, I have a lot of relationships with a lot of friends who make films or work at for different studios, and developing those relationships, understanding that like, hey, I'm gonna come with scripts, like I'm gonna come with these projects ready mapped out,
Yeah,
and just want to impact culture at the highest level through this platform.
yeah, fire.
Nice.
So, man, I'm trying not to get too deep right now, but I feel like
We could have him back, dear,
we can have him back.
if
Can
he
can you
agrees.
can you come back?
I'm always available. I'm loving this conversation. I'm not gonna lie.
Good. It's good. I'm gonna hit you with one more.
Yeah,
I'm gonna just this last one, Queen. I just
Okay,
it's right here on
I'm
the
gonna hold you
tip.
to that.
Okay. But I feel like we feel it with Nip, we feel it with Walt Disney, we feel it with Steve Jobs. I feel like visionaries unfortunately don't see the impact that they have on culture, right?
Mhm.
We know that they're creating impact when they're alive, or possibly they know and they have that attention, but I feel like you really don't feel it, you really don't see it, and it's not like affirmed that this person, played a role in history until they're gone, right? So for you thinking about the impact that everything is going to have on America, the impact that everything is about to have on the horn, and saving folks' lives and uplifting their quality of life. Like, how do you stay motivated to do that work now when you know the true impact may not be felt for another 30 years, another 40 years, when things are different, right? How do you stay motivated to hustle and put your everything into everything, knowing that you might be gone by the time people truly appreciate what you did for technology, for the culture?
I think it just goes back to like my why, right? Like, a part of my everything is my religious belief and my faith in God, and being a Muslim. Um, I know that this life is a test. That one day, I believe that one day I'm going to be held accountable for the actions I had in this life. And I just want to I want to do my best to meet that day prepared as much as possible, right? I know that the things that I'm doing, my intention, why I'm doing them is, I want to break down stereotypes. I want to build bridges, build room for understanding from a religious perspective when it comes to Islam. And I believe a lot of that is done through just maintaining good character and doing good work in this world. And then, when it comes down to helping, make him out, like for me, like people back home, it's to me, it's just like that could have so easily have been myself. And it's like you almost have this like like for me, it's like almost like an unspoken obligation. It's like, no, 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 on top of my family here, like I got to do my best with the resources that I've been afforded and the opportunity that I've been afforded to try and make an impact back home. And I'm not talking about, like, I'm not doing it for myself. Like at the end of the day, it's like it's something that like I feel like I should be doing, that I've been put in a position to be able to do, and that I feel like I can do. Like, the first time I was a part of a project like that was in high school. A friend of mine, we started this air change student club, and we had a lot of air chains at our high school, Berkeley High. And at 15, 16, we raised like $1,000, through bake sales on campus and stuff like that. And we were able to, that money was able to go to orphans, who back home who were just, didn't have the resources they need, being taken care of by some nuns. So just having been a part of something like that and understanding that, like, you know, at I did that at 15, 16. It's like, what else could I do with like real money? What could I do when I really have a job? Or so it's like this level of I want to build, like I said, for myself, betterment for myself, my family, my community, my friends, and the world I come from. But it's at the end of the day, this life is a test. I'm not going to be able to take anything in this life with me, but what I've done, my actions. So as long as those actions for me, like, are in accordance with what God wants, right? Like, what God has asked us to do as individuals. Um, that's the most important part to me. At the end of the day, like like the most important part is making sure that I'm doing my best to please God in everything that I do.
Love it. Heavy bars, bro. I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate it. Heavy bars. Definitely gonna have you come back again to drop some more. And you gotta let us know when there's some things popping out in LA so we can come through and support for sure.
I got you.
So, so we're gonna do some quick updates, and then we're gonna come back to you to close us out. Queen, can you give the folks some updates on what is popping with you?
Yes. Yes. So next Wednesday, or I guess it's not next Wednesday anymore because it's already Friday. Wednesday, the 23rd, March 23rd at 5:30 p.m., we are having another free master class. Focus on weight loss. We are talking about 6 hormone hacks for weight loss. So basically, we're going to be talking about different things that you can do to make your hormones happy, keep them happy, so that you can start releasing some of the excess weight that you're trying to lose. Your hormones levels need to be at a certain place to be able to even allow that to happen. So we're going to talk about how you can put yourself in the position to be able to lose weight. You don't want to chase your tail trying to do all of these things and putting yourself in a situation where your body's going to hold on to that fat. Sometimes that can happen unintentionally. So yes, go to queen, the number two, queencoaching.com/masterclass3 backslash. Hopefully we have the link that we can flash up on the screen. But again, that is queen, the number two, queencoaching.com/masterclass3 backslash. Or you can go to my Instagram, the health nerd. And that's where you can also, hey, there we go. We got it on the screen if you're watching. But yes, my Instagram, the with 3 E's, health nerd. You can click on the link in my bio to register there as well.
There it is. Thank you, Queen. Congratulations. You'll get some beautiful, amazing people that you're gonna impact
Oh,
next week.
yes. I'm excited.
Yeah. And then for me, as y'all know, as usual, you can go to playblackwallstreet.com, get yourself a board game today. We've had some amazing energy from schools that we'll announce a little bit later. We've had some great partnerships with the Black Students of California United. We did a presentation last week at UC Davis. Abdulaim. It was a dope. Like it was in Geet Hall, right where the dating room used to be. We had students in there giving a presentation like I was a professor. It felt cool, man. It felt real cool.
That's
Uh,
amazing.
right? Appreciate you, man. It's been dope. So if you're interested in getting yourself a game, go to playblackwallstreet.com. We're also having the premiere of the Black History Adventures of Rose and Rodney, our first animated film installment that is going to be going off. That's going to be, thank you. That's going to be released March 26th. We have two show times, one at 11 a.m. and one at 3 p.m., both Pacific Standard Time. You can find that information on the Play Black Wall Street website. And lastly, where is it at? Lastly, we have the Launch It book. I know I've been talking to y'all about it, but I've never shown y'all. I don't think I've ever shown them the book. So if you're watching on YouTube, we have the hardcover version of the Launch It book, and then we have the paperback version in case you take notes and you're violent with literature. Um, if you're violent with literature, you're going to want to get the paperback for sure. But you can go to www.launchitcommunity.com. This is a simple, easy to read book to help you launch your business and get it off the ground so you can start making moves like everything. Start making moves like Queen to Queen. Start making moves like we are over here. Launchitcommunity.com. Appreciate you. So as we close, this was a dope one. I think we could have easily went 2 hours, but I know you're hungry. I know you got things to do over there. So we gonna cut it short. We're gonna do a round two.
Cut it short.
We're gonna cut it short.
What?
But if you haven't already, make sure you head to everythingthebrand.com. Get yourself some swag. I know I'm about to get me a sweatsuit because those
Us?
everything's as in I need two, or as in you're gonna steal my one.
Doesn't matter. I'm aware regardless. Okay.
If I'm getting two. Um, head to everythingthebrand.com. Get yourself some swag. As you head out of here, if you can please affirm, and the answer may have changed, but the best way, in your opinion, for folks to make their first $1 million, and then just any wisdom that you would like to give folks as we end Abdul Alim.
Yeah. To affirm in terms of a couple, just making sure you guys are on the same page. Um, and then I'm a firm believer in, like I dedicated my 20s to really just generating cash flow.
Mm.
and just making sure I can get to a position where, you can get assets that generate cash flow. So you're trading in your time for the things to make money on your behalf, and you're freeing up your time. So um, just live within your means, and um, find those assets, find those cash flowing assets that will help you, you know, grow your wealth at a faster rate, and you know do what you're passionate. And I think you'll find your way to the money will come.
Yeah.
Nice.
Boom. There it is. You are
Nugget.
wise beyond your years, sir.
Fact.
Right.
Like
I appreciate it.
stuff you said that you were doing at 15 and 16.
No.
Yeah,
I
definitely
appreciate it.
3 years.
Oh yeah. All
Appreciate it.
thank y'all for tuning in for another episode. We appreciate you. My name is Devon Truvel, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game.
And I'm Sinclair, aka the Health Nerd.
We hope y'all stay healthy. We hope y'all stay mentally wealthy. And of course, we hope y'all stay true.
Thank you for tuning in to the True Health Forever podcast. We hope you learned something valuable that you can take and implement into your life. Now, we've all heard that sharing is caring, and this podcast is no exception. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend, a family member, a coworker, a stranger walking down the street, anybody who you think can level up from this message. As always, we appreciate your support, and we'll talk to you next week. Be well.